Hello, it's another Friday Night Photoshop. I'm Mike Leonard. Tonight we're going to talk about how to create a custom photo greeting card. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So let's get started. So I'm starting with a blank page, literally, and I'm going to come over and say New, and I need to do a custom sized canvas. And I just want the width to be 8 inches because that's what the typical photo greeting cards are, by 4 inches tall, 300 dpi. Okay, it wants to be, you could do a vertical orientation portrait. I'm going to do landscape tonight. We want it to be in color, and I'm just going to go with a white background for now. So we say create. And right there is our canvas. That is 4 inches by 8 inches. And we can put anything we want onto this. Now, to get this printed, we're going to have to send it to Walmart. Walmart has an option where you can create your own card and upload it, and it does not use any of their patterns or any of their graphics or whatever. So we'll talk about that later. But for now, let's start with a card. And I don't want the background to be white, so I'm going to go and pick a color, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll go with blue. So we'll just go with blue, and I'm going to take the paint bucket tool and say make that blue. That's all I had to do, was just grab the paint bucket tool, whatever the primary color is, and I just threw it in there. Done. Pretty quick, huh? Now, if I want to change this, a really quick way to do that, do a Control U, and now I can take the saturation down a little bit if I want, and I can make this any color I want. So maybe I'd rather have it red, or maybe I'd like to have it green. All right. So I'm just going to stick with blue for the moment and say OK. Now the next thing I'd like to do would be to put a photo up on this. So now I'm opening up layers, and I'm going to go find a picture to put in here. So I happen to have this nice picture of George Verselli's family, and I think I'd like to just do a little bit of cropping here. The beauty of this is we're going to be sizing this to fit onto the card. So I don't have to really go by any rules of making this absolutely 16 by 9 or 2 to 3 aspect ratio or anything like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and crop this just so it's got a nice balance to it, and I kind of like that. That looks nice. So I'm just going to pull this down and take this background and just throw it on here. And I'll close this one. I don't need to save that. Now, obviously, that's way too big. So what I'm going to do is right-click and say Free Transform, and just grab any of these handles until I bring this down to make this fit. Something like that. Now, all I'd like to do, I've got this centered. All I'd like to do is to make it so that the distance on the top, the bottom, and also on the left-hand side here are somewhat equal. I don't want to do that. That doesn't look good, nor does that look good. So to have a little bit of balance, I'm going to place this right here. Now I can make this a little bit bigger if I'd like, because I do have that space to do that. And once again, it's nice that some of these tools will automatically snap this. So there we go. And I like that, so I'm just going to go ahead and plant that there. Now the only other thing we need to put in is some message over here. And this is where I take the type tool, and let's go grab maybe yellow, maybe some orange variety, something like this. We'll say OK. And we want to pick a font that might look nice. So this script might look really nice. I happen to have had this open before. But as you can see, there's tons of fonts from which you can choose. And if you have one here that you like better than another, you can choose that. So I'm just going to stay with the script that's right up top here. And now I'm going to type. And I'll worry about sizing this later. So I'm going to say seasons. Okay, obviously that doesn't fit, but that's okay. Because if I wipe over all of that, this is where I get to use scrubbies. And you see how that hand turns to the little fist with the arrows? If I just click and hold, I can make this exactly fit what I need. And I can put this wherever I'd like to have it on the card. Just like that. Now, if George was here, he might want this to say, and this is George, by the way, right here, the second person over, and that's his wife. And these are family members. So maybe I'll say season's greetings from the Vercelli family. So I'm just going to type here. I'm just going to click here from the, I'll go down another line, Vercelli, from the Vercelli family. All right, so that looks pretty nice. Now, wouldn't it be nice if I could absolutely make sure that Season's Greetings from the Vercelli family was straight or was centered? If I choose the layer that's got those two lines on it, and then come over here to this little tool for the Move tool, we've got some interesting tools up here, and this one is going to center that. So I'm going to click on this. And sure enough, that wasn't quite centered down below. So now that's centered. Now that's as basic as it gets. If you were to print this and send it to somebody, and if they put it up on their fridge, it's not going to look like any other. It's just, this is very unique. Now from here, we can embellish this a little bit. Wouldn't it be nice to put a border around this photo? So if I go to this layer and come down to Effects, I can choose to put a stroke around this, and maybe if I choose red, look at that, it's chosen for me. And I need this to go on the inside. If I put this on the outside, you're going to notice something happen. The edges get rounded. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to zoom in, and you see how these edges are rounded?
Yeah.
Maybe you like that. If you do, then you're done. If you don't, however, what you want to do is you go and you say, put the edges on the inside. And when you do the inside, now you get the nice sharp borders. So that's nice. And by the way, I can make this any color I wish for this border. So I'm going to leave it at this red. Now, talking about holiday colors, maybe we would like the background to be green. So in this case, I'm just going to go and do a Control U for hue. And let's just make this blue over into a green. And I'd like it to be a darker green, with maybe not quite so much saturation. Let's go even darker, like a forest green. That's kind of nice. Now we've kind of got something going here between the red and the green. That looks pretty nice. And the yellow still looks pretty good over here. Now, we could make this look a little more golden if we would like. So if I were to take this Season's Greetings, and I'm just going to choose the Type tool, and I'm going to wipe over the whole thing. Now I'm going to come down to the Effects, and I think I would like to try the Gradient Overlay. Now let's see what that does. Let's first of all see if I can make this a little bit bigger so we can see what's happening with this Season's Greetings. I don't have the best gradient here, but what could I find for oranges? Maybe something like that. And can I put that in? Look at that. Just a little hint of color in there. I kind of like that. If you do something that you really like, you notice how this layer has got this modifier down here, but this one up here doesn't. If I just click on this layer and go look for Copy Layer Style, now I can click on that other layer and then say right click and say Paste Layer Style, And now I've just adopted that there. Now, there's another thing I'd like to do, and that is maybe this bevel and emboss. Let's see what that does for us. Oh, and I like it already. Take a look at this. Let me zoom in so you can see this a little better. And I'll move this over. Let me just go back. Now look at what this just did. If I shut this off, that looks pretty flat. But simply by turning that on, it almost makes it look like it's raised. So I like that. And we can change this depth however we want. For me, I think it's one of those less is more. So I think I like that right there. And because I did it to this one, I should do it to this one. And the easiest way to do that again is to right-click and say Copy Layer Style, and then go to this one and right-click and say Paste Layer Style. And now I've just got those looking to be the same. Now I do see one little issue here that bugs me. Seize-ons. You put the cursor between the letters that are a little spread out. Hold the Alt key and the back cursor. And you see we've just put them together. So that to me looks a little bit nicer. Now I could change the size of these pretty easily. I could move these around. Now to me this screen looks a little bit flat. So if I choose the background, and let's say if I go over into the editor for Adobe Camera Raw, and if I go to here to Effects, look at what I could do with Vignette. Ooh, isn't that kind of cool? And I could even take this color down just a little bit more, and maybe I just bring the exposure down just a little bit, and I'll say OK. Now look at what we've just done. That looks even a little nicer. It's like we're putting them in a spotlight. I think that having some graphic down here might look nice. How about a snowflake? Well, before I do anything else, I'm going to go up and save what work I've done so far. So I'm going to choose Save As, and now I need to make sure that I save it as a Photoshop file, because this is going to save all the layers and everything, so I can come back in and edit that if I have to. So I'm going to call this card demo. And I'm saving it as layers. And I am saving this as an sRGB because if I send this off to Walmart, that's what they're going to require. So there we go. Now I mentioned, wouldn't it be nice to put maybe a graphic in here of some nature? Well, I happened to go online and I found that there was this company who has snowflakes. And you could download these for free. And I was thinking, wouldn't that look kind of neat to have a snowflake in here? But I need to invert it so that it will be white. And so I can take the background and make it transparent. So the easiest way to do that is, let me open up this JPEG field of snowflakes. And let's pick one snowflake that we'll put underneath. Anybody have a particular preference for a snowflake here? Tell me which row and which column and we'll grab it.
Fourth one down, second in.
Right here.
Yep.
Okay. I like it. So I'm just going to choose this by cutting it out. I'm actually going to say Image Crop. Now I just have that one snowflake. Now what I need to do is I need to tip this over so that the snowflake is white and the background is black. So if I do Control-I, that inverts it. So now I've got just the snowflake that I want. The next thing I need to do is to make this black transparent. By double-clicking on the layer and making it a layer instead of just the background, I can come to this dialog box just by clicking on the image, and I'm going to use the Blend If command, and if I move this, I got the wrong one, that's for the white. But that one, You notice everything that's transparent is that checkerboard. So that's what I want. I want that to be transparent except for that snowflake. So now I'm going to just drag this layer down, and I'm going to place this snowflake right over here, and I'll close this. Now I just need to position this. So I'll use free transform. And with this I can squeeze this back, put this in here. It would be nice if it had some parity to the bottom of the photo. And now what I might do is blend that back just a little bit. Because this is on its own layer, I can now take the opacity and make that go a little darker if I'd like. I could even color that snowflake, but I don't think I need to because snowflakes are typically white. Now I'd like to maybe take this text and move it up. So this is easy. I just grab this text layer and this text layer and go to this move tool. Now I just use my cursor keys to move this up. And maybe I'd like that from the Vercelli family just to be a little bit closer too. It doesn't have to be quite so far away. Now it makes me want to move it all back down. So you see, this is how custom it is. You can make it whatever you want. And I'll just close this. And there you have it. There's a custom greeting card that you can now take and send this off and make a card that won't look like this anywhere else. Now, let's look at some options here. I didn't have to go with red for the border, did I? If I go to where that is, it's this stroke right here. If I open up these effects, I have some choices I can make. I can change the size of that, and I can also, if I go to stroke, I can also change the opacity of that red, so it doesn't have to be quite so bright red. I can change the size. Maybe if I make this a little thinner, that's just a hint. Now, if I don't want that stroke to be red, I could make it any other color. I could make it white to match the snowflake even. I'm just going with the red because red and green are kind of holiday colors. I could do a drop shadow on this picture, couldn't I? And if I bring this up and change the size and the distance, I can move that anywhere I want. In fact, I can just click on the drop shadow and I can move it all around, which is kind of interesting. Or I can just leave it right in place and keep that right behind it, and then I can bring up the distance and then go with the size, and that gives me like a stain, if you will, in the background. And if you're looking for something like that, you could just make it a hint. Doesn't have to be much. But you see what that does? That kind of takes the picture, and to me it lifts it off the page just a little bit. And so you can see the before and the after. Let me bring that up just a little bit closer so you can see that. Here's the before, which to me looks a little flat, and there's the after. So I kind of like that.
Very nice.
Once again, Control S to save it. Now we can go check our work here, but before we do, let's flatten this, because we need to make this into a JPEG, because that's what the printer is going to require. So we want to save all of this, because what if you misspelled something? That's really important, right? So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do a save as, and simply by choosing JPEG, this is going to flatten everything for me. And I'll say save. And of course, let's make it the high quality that we can because it's our work, right? So I'll say OK. And now we have this saved as a JPEG. And I can come over here and open this up card demo JPEG. And to me, it's important to check our work because you don't want to be sending out something that's not right. So for in this case, I'm going to go to image, image size. Look, 8 inches by 4 inches, 300 dots per inch. All right. So we're done there. Now, I could have put more snowflakes in here. I could have put other things in the background. But this is a pretty simple card. And I like the way this looks. So the next step would be to send this file to Walmart. And let's see how we do that. So I've just come over to the Walmart site. And I just would like to walk you through how to get to making your special card. First thing we need to do is to go to the photo department. Now, Walmart doesn't make this that easy. You'd think that they would put it up here, but they don't. So we have to search for it. Photo. And then we say enter, and this brings us to their photo department. Now we're going to choose cards and stationery, and we're going to choose holiday cards. If I take and pull this down, you'll see that there is this one that says upload your own design. They've got all these pre-made designs for you. And again, the whole purpose of this is let's get away from the ones that they've got. Maybe you like them, but if you go to somebody's house, don't be surprised if you see a Happy Holidays with your family in it, then you might see the exact same design with another family in it. To me, that's not really original. So I'm going to choose Upload Your Own Design. And this is the one you choose. Upload Your Own Design. So I'm going to choose that. We want the 4x8. We want the matte photo paper. And we do want the envelope. And now we're going to come up here and choose Create Now. We have to add photos. So I'm going to upload the photo. And for this, we have to navigate to where we put this. And there it is. The next thing we need to do is to say next. They always show you what the envelope's going to look like. So we're going to say add to cart. And then what we need to do is go to the cart. And this is where we choose how many we would like to have done. Now, this website is a little squirrely in the sense that they make some assumptions for you along the way. So in this case, if we just want 1, or you can choose 5, or 10, or 15, or 20, and so forth. So just in this case, I'm just going to choose 1. And we would like to have this for same-day pickup. And so this is coming to my store in Falmouth. You can change this to whatever store is near you. Make sure you choose for the same-day pickup. And then you would just say checkout, and in this case you do have to have a credit card on file, and that's going to give you basically it's a prepayment. So when you walk into the store, you just walk in and say, hi, I'm here for my cards, and you pick them up, and that's it. You don't have to bring this file into the store and stand there at the kiosk for hours on end while people are there cropping images and doing stuff with at the kiosk for hours on end. So you can just do all this right online. You can have this sent to your home if you'd like. They usually charge a little extra for that. But that's how you make a custom photo greeting card. So there's the finished card that people would probably be very happy to receive. And when they look at it, it's personalized because there's not going to be any other card that's going to look like this. So those are the steps for making a custom photo greeting card for you to send out. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a holiday card. This could be some announcement. It could maybe be if you're having a party and you need to send out invitations. Maybe it's a graduation party or an anniversary party. It doesn't matter. You just click on that holiday card and say, choose your own design. And that's all you have to do. So thanks for watching. That's it for this Friday Night Photoshop. I'll look forward to seeing you all again.